At just 12 years old, I witnessed the devastating impact pollution was having on Iran, my parents' home country. On one of my summer visits, I witnessed smog so heavy it completely blanketed the air, obscuring the stars I wanted to trace out of the night sky. I decided to read more about climate change in Iran, and I became increasingly alarmed.
Well, my dear friends and despised enemies, you have just heard proof that climate change, with scare quotes around it, has completed its transformation from science into yet another foolish global panic grift. A grift embodied by the voice of the young lady you just heard, 20-year-old Sophia Kianni. Now, I have on the blog a tweet from her. She has many tweets along this line. The voice you heard was from her TED Talk. Naturally, she has a TED Talk. The tweet, complete with a sort of full-size upper body picture, at 20 years old, reads the tweet, "I am the youngest United Nations advisor. Here's what I do." It's a first tweet in a long thread in which this young lady describes her duties. One of which is to attend meetings with UN officers and country ambassadors to exchange ideas on how the United Nations can drive climate ambition and action to steer the planet to a path of sustainability by keeping global warming under 1.5 degrees C. End quote. Climate ambition. Excuse me. I want to be both hyper precise and perfectly accurate here. Sophia, like Greta Thunberg before her, is ignorant on these matters. She knows nothing about them. The bulk of what little she does know is hyperbolic propaganda. There is nothing this woman has to offer on this subject. Not one thing. Can she suggest, for instance, better cloud parameterizations and GCMs? Does she even know what a GCM is? Does she know the amount governments should force companies to pay in so-called carbon taxes? Do you believe, if you saw her tweet, and I ask you to go on the blog and find it, and after looking at her, she's posing pretty, I guess the term might be, in all these pictures, as a 20-year-old young lady might do, trying to attract a mate. But in any of these pictures, you do not have the idea that she could define centigrade. Or I doubt she knows what a kilowatt is. I bet she couldn't even define photosynthesis. And if you asked her to point to the ionosphere, well, good luck with that. Does she even know why the sky is blue? It's a 50-50 bet, in my mind, whether she knows which of the two, the sun and earth, revolves around the other. And I have a picture which heads the post, which is heading this, it's embedded in this podcast too, in which it appears the best that she could advise the UN is that her favorite color is blue. So why is the UN touting this silly non-authority? And that brings us to our title. Why the continuing appeal of the appeal to non-authority fallacy, which is so beloved by our culture, in the West anyway. So I have also a tweet. It's from Reuters, the propaganda outfit, and it reads this. Young climate activists from all over the world gathered at COP27 climate summit in Egypt to demand adult leaders take action to protect their futures. The music. I'll play a little bit of this music. It's just god-awful. Let's see if you can hear this. I'm not very good at this, but let's see. There we go. Oh, you can't hear it. Oh, well, I've pressed the wrong button yet again. It's this sickly, treacly, nauseatingly sweet piano music that you normally hear just before someone gets blown up in a movie on TV. Also, that caption, we have these young activists demanding demanding action on climate change to protect their futures. Young activists. Young. What's young? Well, there's a segment with an 11-year-old brat harassing some politician about releasing activists who were tossed in the hoosegow for allegedly protesting against nuclear energy. The written piece followed this up. The Reuters tweet links to a Reuters article, and in that article, I read you this quote. "We need to hold lawmakers accountable for their political decisions," the little brat told Reuters. "Hey, Briggs, that's rude. You can't call a little girl a brat." "I can't?" "Well, but propagandists can tout her as an authority on climate change. She has a get-out-of-criticism pass because she's young?" "Well, yeah." And so we see a prime, if not the prime, appeal to the non-authority fallacy. Appeal to non-authority fallacy. I've written about it at length in my book, Everything You Believe is Wrong. If you want to have more information, you don't need it for this, so you could readily understand it here. What they have, one reason why the appeal to non-authority works is what we can call the easy out. We see the easy out all the time in cultural fights. Some woke celebrity will say something idiotic, and when they're called on it, they say, "Well, I'm only a comedian," or whatever. And here we have these wee tykes saying nonsensical things about climate change, and when we call them out, they get to say, "Well, I'm just a kid." Mostly they don't even have to say that, because restraint on the part of adults not to wound young children keeps us silent. When instead, somebody should say that these kids are ignorant, that they're used as props, that their parents, of course, should be taken out back and have explained to them very carefully not to do this to their own children. Worse, obviously, the parents get their information from propagandists like Reuters. I don't think many of them are going to be scientists themselves. The appeal to non-authority fallacy brings out the maternal instinct. We sort of think, oh, if these kids are so scared, there must be something to what they're saying. Of course, that's false. It's a clear instance of a form of another fallacy, the what about the children fallacy. And a key component to the appeal to non-authority is in the people. You see this all the time when the appeal to a non-authority is used. It's the people used to convey the fallacy. It's always likable people. It's always likable people. Well, who doesn't love children? Everybody fawns over celebrities. And though it's certain somebody has been lying to this poor Sophia Kianni about how pretty she is, vigorous youth has its own universal appeal. People trust non-authorities more than they trust politicians on the same subjects because of this likability that politicians do not possess, any of them, and the supposed disinterest that the non-authorities possess. I mean, after all, what do kids have to gain by pushing a carbon tax? Well, they must be sincere. Well, and consider the non-authority fallacy is, of course, how advertising works, or much of it anyway. A beautiful woman drinks a beer, you want the beer. A swarthy man drives a truck, you want the truck. A film actor endorses a soda pop, and so now you're thirsty for the pop. Or he's out there touting a reverse mortgage. Well, maybe the reverse mortgage is not such a bad idea. We buy because we like and trust these non-authorities. And they have absolutely no knowledge of what they're speaking about. This fallacy is used at all levels of culture. The funny thing is, of course, we could easily, all of you understand what I'm talking about and know just what I mean, but nobody ever confesses to being taken in by it. But of course, there must be a lot of people who are. And I'll leave you with the words of Glove Pasha, who in his treatise on the similarities of dying cultures said this. This is a quote I'm very fond of. Regular readers of the blog will have seen or read or have heard it before. Glubb says, the heroes of declining nations are always the same. The athlete, the singer, or the actor. That's all for today, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Happy trails until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then.
Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and think about sunny weather.
Happy trails to you till we meet again.